1986, I was 23 years old. I had a huge head start in life. My dad started Minuteman Press, the printing franchise, in the 70s. I grew up with that business. I remember when the clock man of Minuteman Press was an idea on our dining room table, and we built and grown from there. My older brother Bob and his family still have Minuteman Press, and I moved to Florida and have Sinorama, and we've grown from there. We opened up a second one called Embroidery, which has become fully promoted. We have about 800 Sinoramas, but about 300 fully promoted out there that do promotional products and shirts, jackets, caps, and what have you. As Tipton mentioned on the last presentation, we started active franchising, which turns businesses into franchise companies and then works with them from a consulting side. We've also added a lot of other brands. So as you look at partnerships, acquisitions, a lot of brands, including Transworld, which is the largest business brokerage in the country. We have about 440 of those. And then we now have the third largest co-working sites between VentureX, Office Evolution, and Intelligent Office. We've just started a business called Exit Factor, which is working with people to prepare their business for sale. We have a food division also, which the Great Greek and Grace and Cannoli Kitchen Pizza. So 11 brands, 1,800 franchisees in 80 countries worldwide. We've got our plate full, as you can imagine. What does Discovery Day Tours look like at United Franchise Group? This year, we'll probably do anywhere between 1,300 and 1,500 Discovery Day Tours, to give you an idea, the numbers. We'll probably, again, depending on who you're talking to, we're in January right now. We have about 70 closed right now this year. So we're on pace to do 1,000 franchise sales this year. So we're excited about that. That includes resales, that includes multi-unit sales, that's everything. So it's not all just individuals. But we only count individuals on Discovery Day Tours. So what does that process look like, and what has happened over the years? Obviously, we all got changed and flipped around with COVID, right? And so we had to change the way we do things as well. So from 1986 to 2020, we did it the same way. Like if you go through it, that whole time we did individual Discovery Day Tours. Now, when I'm talking about the numbers I'm talking about, we have no group Discovery Day Tours. Every one of those 1,200 Discovery Day Tours will be done individually, one-on-one. Now, in the old days pre-COVID, they were all in person. We flew every single person to West Palm Beach. We paid for their flight, we paid for a hotel room, and we did it one-on-one. And some people say, well, that's an incredible cost and a waste of time and effort. We had tried different ways of doing it, and I know some of you do it different. You have a day that you do Discovery Day Tours, and we do Discovery Day Tours every single day. A day does not go by that we don't have at least 5 Discovery Day Tours. Some days we have 10 or 12 Discovery Day Tours, all individually. Now, I do not talk and speak to every single one of them anymore. I can't. There's just so much time in the day. But I do get on with our newer brands, all the international, multi-unit purchasers, some of the bigger deals will get me involved. So then, since COVID, we do about 90% of our Discovery Day Tours virtually, with a huge savings from air flights and hotels and everything for our company. But we still do about 10% of them in person. If somebody wants to fly in, we'll go through that same process that we did for 35 years almost, from our standpoint. So I'm going to go through with you this is kind of how we've done it. This is our history. This is who we are. But I want to go through kind of a step-by-step with you. So And look, I'm going to go fast through it, and so you get a good idea about it, and you don't have to be on your phones, and you don't have to do anything else to go fast. And then we can have kind of a Q&A on anything. You want to talk about, anything about John Hayes' personal life, or anything you want to talk about, I'm available to discuss it. Side note, I knew his wife before he did. Never dated her, but I knew her, John. Okay, so let's go through some quick qualifying questions, okay? So what does that look like? These are to get on the same page, because everybody does it a little different. I'm not standing here saying we do it right, you do it wrong, or whatever. It's what's right for your brand or your company and your sales process and your people and your culture. Some people close on Discovery Day, we don't. Some people, everybody does it a little differently. So, but our Discovery Days conducted in person or virtual, or both. How many people here do in person? Good. That's how we did for 35 years, and it works. It really does. And so virtual, we've embraced it. When COVID hit, one of my first meetings with my staff, I pulled them aside and said, we're going to need to take this live. I need a studio. I need the equipment. I need you to research. We need to, and today we have like a full studio at UFG then, still to this day. And I do a CEO video every single month streaming out to the whole system, but also every Discovery Day tour. So we needed to do that. The next thing we needed to do is have a virtual tour of the home office. And we were able to do that. A virtual tour of each of the locations. And we were able to do that. So as you go through, virtual is, you gotta embrace it, but you've gotta make it as real as possible. Is a prospect financially qualified before they come on Discovery Day tour? They should be, right? That's got to be a must, right? So has the prospect visited the location prior to the Discovery Day tour? How many people here have a Discovery Day tour and they have not visited a location yet? Okay, it happens, Butch, right? We occasionally that happens, but for the most part, we insist that they visit a location prior to Discovery Day tour. We also ask them that they speak to at least 2 to 3 owners before they come on Discovery Day tour. We make that a part of it. We also have each one of the brands run either bi-monthly or every other week. They have an owner's call where prospects, leads can get on live with owners. That's on a regular basis. That's calendared out for the entire year. They rotate the franchise owners, and they have a moderator, and they're there to help them understand the brand a little better. Is the opportunity a resale, a new one, or a conversion? Why does this matter? In the Discovery Day tour, you're taking them through a series of steps up through the Discovery Day tour. We take the exact same steps, whether it's a new conversion or a resale, all the way up to the deposit. Now, at United Franchise Group, we have a step that we do in between Discovery Day tour and the closing, which is a deposit. We take a totally refundable $9,500 deposit. This is refundable for any reason. They don't even have to give a reason. But it is the next step after our Discovery Day tour is the deposit. It's applied to the franchise fee, it's not an extra fee. And so, if they choose not to go in business with us, it's 100% refundable. So to those numbers, we do about 50 to 60%, let's say 50% will be conservative, from application to Discovery Day tour. We do about 70% from Discovery Day tour to deposit, and we do about 80% from deposit to close. And those are our kind of yearly numbers as we go through, and that's been the case for several years. what's the primary purpose of your Discovery Day tour? You need to decide that before you have the Discovery Day tour. When I say that, very often people are, well, the primary purpose is to sell them a franchise. Well, is that what you're really doing on the Discovery Day tour, or is it education? Is it fact-finding? Is it an opportunity to learn about our people and for us to learn about them? Okay? So I think there's a couple different approaches here. And again, I'm not going to say what we do is right and what you're doing is wrong, but each one's a little different. I just wanted to share with you those. But so let's go through, what does this lineup look like? Okay? It's a lineup that your Discovery Day tour is going to go through. They do not spend the time with one person. In fact, at United Franchise Group, it's a lot of people. We go through this lineup, and each and every person has their role to play. Now, one of the things that you got to keep in mind is your people want to do good. They want to help you, but they're not going to help you if they have the mindset of trying to sell a franchise. It's none of their role is to sell a franchise. Their role is to educate, is to help the prospect understand the business better, and to get a better understanding of where they fit in, and is this a good match for them, and we go through that whole process. But again, so you've got this whole lineup. Now, a big mistake people make is they don't spend any time with the lineup to teach them what to say and what not to say. It should start off with an index card. And you should just give them 3 or 4 or 5 points that you want them to cover and let them put it up on their wall. And that's what they're going to do every time on a Discovery Day tour. But you need to go and prepare them for what you want them to cover about your brand. Again, each brand is different, right? So you're going to have different things that you're going to go through, but you need to review and have it scripted. You need to make sure that you're understanding what they're saying to everybody. You also train them that if the prospect asks a question and it's out of their field, that they answer that question very simply. That's a really good question. I'm going to have Joe, our president, answer that for you. A couple things happen when your staff starts saying, I don't know the answer. That's a great question. I don't know. Let me get you the right person. That you gain credibility and trust with the prospects when you tell them, I don't know. I will do that too. That's a really good question. Let me look into it. I'll get back to you. Give me another reason to contact them back, right? The other thing is, in the meeting, you should have a pen and pen. And take that, and that's a really good point. Let me jot that down. And take a note. Because you're going to get really good ideas from these people, but it's also a sign of respect. What isn't a sign of respect is if you have your phone and you're texting while you're on the Discovery Day tour. That's not a sign of respect. That's disrespect. So you got to be smart about it. So as you go through this, what you want each person to cover and having it scripted and going through, answering questions and making sure they understand that they can't just answer any questions, and they got to be careful about what they say. They can't share financial information that's not in our UFOC or FTD. I show my age. Yes. So the key is honesty. And you got to talk to them about this. We're not making up anything. We're just we're making sure they're trained properly to speak to prospects. Okay? Anybody have questions about this? No? Yes?
The deposit is refundable, but how long is that grace period?
90 days. And they can ask for it 2 weeks later or something changed, they'll get it back. The other thing a deposit has helped our company with is cash flow. Now you might think, well, at any given time we have 200 to 300 deposits. Anybody want to do the math on that one? Okay, it's pretty good for cash flow. It's really good. It's also good for legal. What do you mean legal? Well, instead of selling them a franchise, we took a totally refundable deposit, Butch. We gave them an opportunity to get out anytime they wanted to and do research because we wanted to get to know them even better. It's not an extra fee, it's put toward the purchase. Try to turn that into a negative. It's hard. So, what are the actions of the host? The host is the key. The host is the one that's hosting the Discovery Day tour. We have a couple different people at UFG that are hosts. Riley is one of our main hosts who I had her read through this presentation and make additions to it because it's needed. But as you go through, they're going to be scheduling all the people, not the salesperson. That's a waste of the salesperson's time. If you can afford it, you'll have somebody else do that. As you go through, you're going to see making sure all the participants are on the same page, making sure they have any questions, or if there are questions during the session, that they'll get it to the salesperson so the salesperson knows. As you go through this and you'll see it, the share information with the prospect and making sure that they get all the information that they need to make a good, educated decision. And then, of course, follow-up. Follow-up is in sales. Any time with sales, follow-up is an area that gets dropped. Always. We always hear the statistics about prospects that call a franchisor, and I don't know what it is today, John. It used to be like 25 or 30% of the franchisors actually call them back. It's insane. Like, you would think that that's crazy, but that's probably what it is today, still, to this day. People see companies like Neighborly, and they see the size and the scope, and they see the PE. What I see is Don Dwyer, a family business that called every lead, that they made sure they followed up on every single person, and that's still at the heart of their company, which makes them even more successful today than ever before. That's where we are. That's what we do. So follow-up on the Discovery Day tour is critical, but it's certainly part of the whole thing. Okay, closing at a Discovery Day tour. This is what John is promising. I'm going to teach some magic bullet of how to close people on the Discovery Day tour. Now, we've never known John to exaggerate a point ever. Okay? Considering the person on stage doesn't do any closing at Discovery Day tours. None. We don't believe in it. What we do is we close on the next step. And the next step is a deposit for us. If you don't have a deposit, then you may have to go right to that. But for us, that feels like it's pushing it too fast. So as you go through this, you're going to see that there are instances where there's opportunity to close for some people, but I'm going to recommend that you close on the next step as you go through the process. So in each one of these items that you see and you go through, right, support the salesperson. How do we support a salesperson? Well, we give them the resources and refer the resources to do their job. But what else we do is we build them up. Like, I might say, Hogan is a great regional vice president. He follows it. He's going to put you in business the best way because he's going to take you step by step through this process. And they go, oh, okay, yeah, he's been doing it for years. He knows the business, he knows the industry really, really well. He'll be great. So we build up our salespeople, okay? And just like John builds up his speakers, we build them up, and that builds credibility with the prospect and the salesperson. Does that make sense? Good. Good. So as we go through, you're going to ask the key question. What is the key question at the Discovery Day tour? What are we trying to, have we addressed all of your questions? Because really, that's the idea of the Discovery Day tour, is to put a bow on this. We're trying to put a bow on the whole process to make it easier for the salesperson to take them through the next steps and to close the deal. Okay? We have over 25 full-time salespeople all over the United States and outside the country as well, from Australia to Europe. So we have our own sales team. We also use brokers, we also use franchise consultants, we use all the resources that are out there to offer franchises. But as we go through this, we want to build up our salespeople and make sure that they're looked at the way they should be looked at. And lastly, the follow-up information from the Discovery Day tour. That's got to be handled. So you've got to get, the host will get involved in that, the salesperson will get involved in that as you go through this process. So let's talk about timing. Let's talk about timing of the Discovery Day tour. Sometimes we happen too fast. That's why we have certain parameters to say you gotta go visit a location, you gotta speak to 2 to 3 franchise owners. We don't want it too fast. We want it to be the right timing. We certainly don't want it to be too slow, but we don't want it too fast. We want them to have some education. And so the timing on when should they be following back with them, we normally have a pre-booked appointment the next day after the Discovery Day tour. Our salesperson has a pre-booked appointment. When they call them and they confirm the Discovery Day tour, then they book the meeting afterwards just to make sure everything went well and follow up to see if you had any other questions after the Discovery Day tour. And we go, okay, great. So we get that booked. I think that's really, really important that you get that pre-booked and you get there. And now we used to have, and I say used to, for about 25 years, I had a rule. It's a simple rule for all our salespeople. If you were not in front of the Discovery Day tour within 48 hours of them getting home, you don't get a commission. That was the rule. Now, I changed that because, we know the world we live in now is this woke BS. Everything is going soft and, oh my gosh. Some sales guy cried at a meeting and HR has a heart attack. Sold a deal and I wouldn't pay him the commission because he met the Discovery Day tour, 4 days afterwards, and I don't care. I don't really care. What I'm telling you is it's really, really important to get in front of the prospect after the Discovery Day tour and make it a really important point that you follow up. So many people go through all this process and then they blow it. So a quote always resonates in my head. Now, some of you might be surprised, but when I was younger, I played basketball. I played high school and college basketball. And I had a coach one time in a camp. He's on TV sometimes. His name's Seth Greenberg. Anyway, he was my coach for the week at this camp, 5-star basketball camp. And I had made this move on a guy. And I crossed over, and I went right past him. And I went right up for the layup, and I blew it. I missed the layup, and he calls timeout. We come on the bench, and he's screaming in my face. And this is what he screamed at me. Ray, making a good move and missing the layup is like going into the bathroom, zipping down your pants and peeing in your pants. It makes no sense. And believe it or not, I was 17 years old, and it really made a lot of sense to me at that point. Okay? Now I look back on it, it's like a bizarre comment. Right? But the reality is, make the shot. Concentrate to the end. Even if you're falling, stay with your eyes on the rim. If you did all this work, why would you drop it after the Discovery Day tour? That's a huge problem. Oh yeah, they're going to get back to me. They're going on vacation. They don't have phones when they're gone. They don't like to be called when they go away. I don't care. Call them. Time kills deals. The more time that you allow to go in between any of the steps that you have in your sales process, and we all have different steps, but the more time, the worse. So if somebody says, give me a call call me next week. I call them this week, by the end of the week. If they say, call me after the weekend, I call them before the weekend. Always sooner, always quicker, because they'll take the call, and all you say is, I was just thinking of you. I couldn't stop thinking about the meeting we had. So excited about it. It's very easy. It's not a hard thing, but so many people just take what the person says, and then they just become a robot, and they just do whatever that person. Well, they're going on vacation for a month, and then they like to get back to it, or they're figuring out their levels for their budget, and they say, give them a call the end of the year. What? How long does it take to figure out your budget? This weekend? What are we talking about? They're just pushing you off. You got to be more persistent than that. So as you go through this, you're going to see, we say review the experience. Start by asking, how did your discovery go? I don't let them even answer this question. I'll say, how did discovery go? Pretty impressive, wasn't it? See, I'm going to answer it for them. I'm not going to give them a chance. Okay? There's some great people down there, aren't there? Yes, good. Awesome. Okay? So you want to follow up. You want to ask them the key questions. You want to review what happened and what took place. You want to address the final questions, right? Provide the opportunity for the prospect, lingering questions. Address them. Get them taken care of. That's the key here, right? Outline the next steps. I told you that we do a deposit. That's our steps are the call, right? The application, the Discovery Day tour, the deposit, and the close. So we have 5 steps, and whatever steps you have, that's fine. I would encourage you to have at least 3. We have 5. You might have 7. There might be other steps that are involved in selling your business that makes a lot of sense. It's okay. Confirm a commitment. Confirm a commitment with that. For us, that commitment is the totally refundable deposit. They say, I don't know, I'm not, how many people here have ever heard this? I'm not 100% yet. Ever hear that? I'm not 100%. I'm not 100%. Right. I'd say, sir, I've been at this for 38 years. I'm still not 100%. And they'll do the exact same thing. They'll laugh. But if we got you at 80%, then we've done our job. You're never going to be 100% until you're in the business, making money, and happy. Then you'll be 100%. But I can't get you 100%. I can get you to 80 or 85. And that's why we do it the way we do it. So as you go through this, you're going to see, what's the next steps. And we sell in steps. We close on steps. We don't close